working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello, Mga Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Indonesia. Hello, December.
Hello, Alma. Hello, everyone. I'm December Paras, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. The United States of America, the European Union, and several other Western countries have reaffirmed their support to the Philippines' claim in the South China Sea on the 5th anniversary of the Hague's Arbitral Tribunal ruling.
Several foreign tourists were kicked out of Bali on Monday for breaking the Indonesian holiday island stricter virus rules as the country is plagued by its deadliest COVID-19 wave.
And as Indonesia faces a shortage of medical oxygen due to the surge of COVID cases, the Department of Trade and Industry Secretary Ramon Lopez said at least 2 Philippine oxygen manufacturers can export to the neighboring country.
Senator Manny Pacquiao is punch drunk. President Rodrigo Duterte again criticized the boxer turned senator for claiming that billions of pesos were lost due to corruption across government agencies.
First, the United States of America, the European Union, and several other Western countries have reaffirmed their support to the Philippines' claim in the South China Sea on the 5th anniversary of the Hague's Arbitral Tribunal ruling. In a statement, Antony Blinken, U.S. Secretary of State, said the U.S. reaffirms its policy regarding maritime claims in the South China Sea. It released almost a year ago on July 13, 2020, noting that the Arbitral Tribunal delivered a unanimous and enduring decision rejecting China's maritime claims as having no basis on international law. He also noted that nowhere is the rules-based maritime order under greater threat than in the South China Sea. Blinken said the PRC continues to coerce and intimidate Southeast Asian coastal states, threatening freedom of navigation in this critical global thoroughway. Now, he called on China to abide by its obligations under international law, to cease provocative behavior, and to reassure that China is committed to rules-based maritime order that respects the rights of all countries, big and small. An armed attack on Philippine armed forces, he said, public vessels or aircraft in the South China Sea would invoke U.S. mutual defense commitments under Article 4 of the 1951 U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, he added. In a separate statement, meanwhile, Global Affairs Canada, in charge of Canada's diplomatic relations, reiterated the need for all parties involved to comply with the decision of the Arbitral Tribunal 5 years ago. The delegation of the EU in the Philippines said that what happens in the South China Sea matters to the EU, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and the whole world.
The arbitral ruling, which affirmed the Philippines' territorial claims covered by the country's exclusive economic zone, or EEZ, in the West Philippine Sea against China, provided the country and the rest of the world with a framework for greater cooperation. Yes, greater cooperation and understanding of complex maritime conflicts, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana said on Monday night. Consistent with Philippine National Police, we shall continue to seek all avenues to achieve peaceful and friendly management of all standing maritime disputes, Lorenzana said in a statement as the Philippines commemorated the 5th anniversary of the arbitral ruling. Lorenzana also called the ruling a milestone in the country's history as it affirms its claim over the disputed waters. On July 12, 2016, the Philippines won the arbitration case it lodged against China after the Permanent Court of Arbitration, or PCA, in The Hague. Netherlands invalidated Beijing's 9-line claim that covers nearly the entire South China Sea. The defense chief also urged all nations with overlapping claims in the area to heed the call for rules-based international order and refrain from acts that may escalate tension in the area.
Meanwhile, Thailand will use ASTRAZENECA's or PFIZER's COVID vaccines as a second dose for those who received the first dose of China's SINOVAC shot after hundreds of fully vaccinated medical workers caught the disease. Joining us live to tell us more on this report, here's Diomer Baldo. Hello, Diomer.
That is correct, Alma. The Public Health Ministry has decided to start the inoculation of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine as a second dose to those who got SINOVAC for their first job, a major shift in the government's vaccination policy. Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul said on Monday that combination of the jobs will confer greater immunity against the Delta variant of the coronavirus. The AstraZeneca job will be administered 3 to 4 weeks after the first SINOVAC injection. The National Communicable Diseases Committee convened for a meeting to discuss measures to deal with the rapid spread of the Delta strain, which was first detected in India and is rapidly becoming the dominant strain in Thailand. The decision also came amid growing questions about the efficacy of the SINOVAC and AstraZeneca jobs against the Delta strain. The official reiterated that the booster shot will be mainly AstraZeneca vaccine. He added that projections of daily fatalities could exceed 100 and new cases above 10,000 if no adjustments will be considered for the current program. The committee further allowed the use of FDA-approved rapid antigen test kits to be used in 300 hospitals nationwide to reduce queues for RT-PCR testing. Speculation about the government's moving to allow at-home tests has grown since testing centers and units were unable to cope with the increasing demand for COVID-19 tests after infections increased across Bangkok and its neighboring provinces. The committee also approved home and community isolation for the asymptomatic COVID-19 patients and those with mild symptoms, with the National Health Security Office working with hospitals to handle the matter. Meanwhile, Kitipum Wongrajit, the Permanent Secretary of the Public Health Ministry, said that 188 comprehensive COVID-19 response teams, or CCRT, will be deployed to conduct proactive testing in communities in Bangkok, aiming to test about 10,000 to 12,000 people per day. Rapid antigen test kits will be used, which results to be known in 30 minutes. Back to you, Alma.
All right, thank you very much, Diomer, for your updates there. So we're looking forward to an update on the booster shot of AstraZeneca or PFIZER after concerns about the China's SINOVAC vaccines. Thank you very much and stay safe.
Thanks to Alma reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand. I am Jomral Bondet-Baldo. We live in interesting times.
In the Philippines, President Rodrigo Duterte is now fully vaccinated against the COVID or coronavirus disease 2019. Senator Bongo confirmed that Duterte received his second vaccine for COVID-19 jab on Monday by releasing photos on his official Facebook page. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque also confirmed that Duterte was inoculated with the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Chinese state-owned pharmaceutical company Sinopharm. Duterte received his first shot of Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine on May 3. At that time, Sinopharm has yet to secure an emergency use authorization, or EUA, for the administration of its COVID-19 vaccines. In May, the World Health Organization included Sinopharm in its emergency use listing. The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, cleared Sinopharm for emergency use in June. Initially, FDA only issued a compassionate use license for inoculation of 10,000 doses of Sinopharm vaccine to members of the Presidential Security Group, or PSG. China approved the Sinopharm vaccine for general public use last December after the developer said the vaccine showed 79.34% efficacy based on an interim analysis of late-stage clinical trials.
In Myanmar, the spiraling coronavirus count struck the trial of ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi on Monday, according to her lawyers, with a witness for the prosecution failing to testify after becoming infected. Cases are spiking in Myanmar, with the State Administration Council, as the military junta calls itself, reporting more than 3,400 new cases Sunday, up from fewer than 50 per day in early May. Suu Kyi was deposed by the military in February, and it sparked a mass uprising and brutal crackdown. More than 890 civilians have now been killed by the junta's forces, and that is according to a local monitoring group. Now, on Monday, a prosecution witness set to testify that she flouted coronavirus restrictions during elections that her party won in a landslide last year, was absent on account of COVID-19 infection, that according to her lawyer, Kin Mang Zhao. Now, a second witness gave testimony on the same charges, and the court also heard evidence on separate charges that Suu Kyi illegally imported and possessed walkie-talkies. Now, the Nobel laureate, 76 years old, and all members of her staff have been fully vaccinated while in military custody, according to her lawyer, Min Min So. Now, she did not give details on when Suu Kyi, who is believed to have received a first dose before her government was deposed, had received the jab or what vaccine she was given.
Several foreign tourists were kicked out of Bali on Monday for breaking the Indonesian holiday island's stricter virus rules, as the country is slammed by its deadliest COVID-19 wave. Three visitors from the United States, Russia, and Ireland were put on planes bound for their home countries after being nabbed for not wearing masks in public, violating Bali's new zero-tolerance policy, authorities said. A Russian woman who refused to self-quarantine after testing positive was also said to be deported once she was virus-free, he added. The four are the first foreigners to be deported for breaking Bali's stricter COVID-19 rules as the beach-dotted island clamps down on rampant violations. The restrictions are part of the tighter virus curbs that Indonesia rolled out last week in Bali, as well as its hard-hit capital Jakarta and across densely populated Java, where skyrocketing new infections have overwhelmed hospitals. On Monday, Southeast Asia's worst-hit country reported a record of 40,427 new infections and 891 deaths in the last 24 hours. Indonesia's tighter restrictions were to last until at least July 20. Bali has been less affected than some other parts of Indonesia, but new infections and deaths are on the rise. The island has reported a total of nearly 56,000 deaths or cases and 1,648 deaths. Tourist dependent in Bali, which used to attract millions of foreign visitors, annually rolled out an aggressive vaccination plan as it geared up for a now-shelled bid to reopen to mass tourism this month.
From Indonesia, we now go to Vietnam, where the government has issued resolution number 73-NQCP, approving the Ministry of Health's proposal for negotiations to buy 40 million doses of Sputnik V vaccine. The ministry is responsible for introducing the Vietnamese TT Group to the Russian Direct Investment Fund, or RDIF, so that both sides could start negotiations on the deal. All the costs of the vaccine doses will be covered by the TT Group. The ministry shall grant license for importing the vaccines, which will be administered freely. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is tasked to conduct related diplomatic procedures, while the Ministry of Transport will coordinate in transporting the vaccines. Up to date, 6.1 million doses vaccines have been delivered to Vietnam, of which 4,040,783 vaccine doses were injected, with 271,409 individuals having been fully vaccinated.
More than 10 million people were placed under fresh COVID-19 restrictions and a curfew in the Thai capital on Monday as the kingdom battled a surge of cases worsened by the highly infectious Alpha and Delta variants. Thailand has so far recorded more than 345,000 cases and 2,791 deaths, with the bulk of them coming in this latest wave that started in April. Take a look.
I'd like to, and they will be in effect for at least 14 days. That's until 25th of July. But measures will be assessed and adjusted as needed. So the measures you'll see on the slide for the 6 provinces, which are Bangkok, Nonthaburi, Pathum Thani, Nakhon Pathom, Samut Prakan, and Samut Sakhon. The measures in these 6 provinces include the closure of shopping centers, with exceptions for supermarkets, takeout restaurants, banks and financial institutions, pharmacies, and communication devices shops. Within these areas, of course, socializing with groups larger than 5 people is also prohibited, with an exception for work-related activities. Also, restaurants, markets, shopping malls, and convenience stores must be closed at 2000 hours or 8 o'clock in the evening. Public parks are open for exercising, but they must be closed at 2000 hours or 8 o'clock in the evening as well. Public transportation will finish their daily services at 2100 hours or 9 o'clock in the evening and resume again at 4 o'clock in the morning.
First detected in clubs frequented by the Thai elite and politicians at an upscale Bangkok nightlife district, the surge has been exacerbated by a slow vaccine rollout and limited testing capacity. Health authorities also said they are monitoring 7 people who have contracted both the Alpha and Delta variants. In addition to the capital, 9 other provinces that have seen steady upticks in infections saw more restrictions fight. Checkpoints sprung up across Bangkok in the early hours of Monday as a 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. curfew came into force, with police wearing masks and facial shields stopping cars in the center of the capital. Residents are barred from gathering in groups of more than 5 people, while public transport networks will shut from 9 p.m. Supermarkets, restaurants, banks, pharmacies, and electronic stores within malls will be able to stay open, but other shops have shuttered. Authorities on Monday also approved the use of administering the Chinese-made SINOVAC jab as the first dose and ASTRAZENECA as the second. Health authorities added that medical staff who had already received 2 SINOVAC doses will get a booster ASTRAZENECA or PFIZER BioNTech shot. Let's listen in.
Emphasize that despite this, all vaccines have been proven to be efficient in preventing hospitalization and death. And out of 677,348 medical personnel who received complete doses of SINOVAC vaccine, only 618 were infected with the virus, and out of 618 who were vaccinated, only 2 became seriously ill or were reported as vaccine failures. However, to ensure that our medical professionals are safe, today the National Committee on Infectious Diseases will officially approve the plan to offer a booster shot to medical personnel, and the additional 3rd shot will either be ASTRAZENECA vaccine, which we already have in stock, or PFIZER vaccine that is due to arrive later this month.
AstraZeneca is currently the only other vaccine available in the country, with Pfizer-BioNTech shots donated by the U.S. set to arrive soon. Thailand first received SINOVAC vaccines from China and began giving shots to its health workers in February. Concerns over the efficacy of the Chinese vaccine amid rising cases have sharply driven demand for other shots offered by some private clinics.
Meanwhile, the government of Prayut Chan-o-cha has come under vociferous criticism over its handling of the pandemic, from the management and procurement of vaccines to ad hoc enforcement of restrictions. And anger is high at the new measures. And some say the restrictions should have come sooner. The outbreak has hit Thailand's poor communities the hardest, especially those living in Bangkok slums, where social distancing is not possible. Let's listen in.
ทำอะไรได้ช้ามากครับถ้าเกิดเขาจะล็อกดาวน์จริงๆเนี่ยเขาควรจะล็อกดาวน์ไปแล้วครับแล้วรู้สึกว่าวิธีการพูดของเขาเนี่ยมันเหมือนเขาไม่ได้บอกว่าเขาล็อกดาวน์ครับแต่เขาเหมือนว่าเขาใช้คำอื่นแล้วมันก็ทำให้คนรู้สึกแบบว่าสับสนว่าอ้าวตกลงว่าล็อกดาวน์จริงๆหรือเปล่ามันมีแต่รายจ่ายออกไปกระทบเต็มๆเลยเพราะของเรานี่เป็นแบบเสื้อผ้านี่มันไม่ใช่พวกอาหารอะไรพวกนี้ห้างที่เราขายเผลอๆอาจจะน่าจะปิดแต่ว่าต้องรอดูมาตรการรายละเอียดอีกครั้งหนึ่งว่าเขาจะออกมายังไงแนวโน้มยังไงมั่งกับพวกผมเนี่ยอย่างพวกประชาชนธรรมดาเนี่ยทุกอาชีพสาขาเนี่ยเดือดร้อนกันหมดอ่ะเดี๋ยวอย่างพวกผมเนี่ยหนักเลยเนี่ยตั้งแต่เช้ามาจนป่านเนี่ยได้มาถึง100อ่ะเอาแค่นี้แล้วกันแล้วน็อกดาวน์คิดดูแล้วมันจะเป็นยังไง
ก็รู้สึกแย่นะคะว่าทำไมถึงล็อกดาวน์แต่ว่าไม่มีมาตรการเยียวยาอะไรเลยอย่างเงี้ยค่ะแค่ไม่ให้นั่งในร้านก็หนักแล้วค่ะ
In another development, AirAsia announced on Friday evening it was also suspending domestic flights in Thailand for the rest of July in order to cooperate with the government efforts to reduce inter-provincial travel. And the airline also said it would be in touch with affected passengers and will resume flights on August 1st. Thailand's economy is suffering its worst performance since the 1997 Asian financial crisis. The Premier, Prayut Chan-o-cha, indicated Friday he would forego his salary for 3 months. And the news continues here on ASEAN in Focus. December and I will be back right after this break.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization, startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Your weekly dose of entrepreneurial inspiration to update you on the latest developments in the world of business. Get up close and personal with CEOs and thought leaders to help you discover valuable insights, sharpen your instincts for smart decision-making with the latest markets and economic trends, disruptive ideas, global innovation, social entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge business ideas. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business, from vision to action.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
Samahan sina Wedge Kujamat,
itong balitang panggising sa ulo ng mga balita.
Apple David,
Sa 60 katao ang isinugod sa ospital.
Phoebe Publico
Economic sabotage ang mga tiwaling negosyante.
at Cristel Fesalbon
Pagpresyo ng gulay, makakausap natin
para iatid sa inyo ang mga kaganapan at pangyayari sa bansa at sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo. Mga napapanahong isyu ng bayan. May balitang sports, entertainment at iba pang kaalaman. Simula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 5 ng umaga sa paborito nyong morning show, Pambansang Almusal, dito sa Net 25.
Pambansang Almusal.
Welcome back. A ship with about 109 people on board caught fire in the waters of western Indonesia on Monday afternoon, but all the passengers and crew members were rescued safely, according to an official. The ship, Gunsa 8, caught fire when it was sailing in the Bangka Strait, and the fire came from the engine of the ship, according to Aswind Abu Nawar, head of the emergency unit of the Disaster Management Agency in Kepulauan, Bangka Belitung province. Now, the ship departed from a seaport in the province and was heading for a seaport in South Sumatra province, according to the official. He also told XINHUA via phone that all of the 90 passengers and 19 crew members were rescued by another passenger ship, which was passing by at that time, and 6 of the people on board were children. He added the fire was extinguished by a tugboat which was equipped with tools for stopping fires at sea. All the passengers were transported to the seaport in Kepulauan, Bangka Belitung.
Critically endangered Sumatran elephant has been found decapitated with its tusks missing in Indonesia. The conservation agency said on Monday as it opened a poaching investigation. Let's listen in.
Gajah korban perburuan dengan melakukan pemotongan gading. Jadi gadingnya dipotongnya itu ini adalah gading keduanya. Ini adalah lubang besarnya diameter pangkal gading dari bagian kepalanya. Jadi gading diambil sampah. Jadi dia rebah sebelah kiri. Ini sisanya, ini sisa gading sebelah kiri yang sudah dipotong sama pemburu.
The rotting carcass was discovered Sunday at a palm oil plantation in Sumatra's Aceh region, and a subsequent autopsy found that the animal had also been poisoned. Rosarika Wayuni, a doctor at the Aceh Conservation Agency, said they found poison in its digestive system. It was not clear how long the male elephant, estimated to be about 12 years old, had been dead. Rampant deforestation has reduced the elephant's natural habitat and brought them into increasing conflict with humans, while their tusks are prized in the illegal wildlife trade. There have been several elephant poisoning cases in recent years, including one in 2019 when a Sumatran elephant was found decapitated with its tusks ripped off. Aceh's Conservation Agency estimated the region has few as 500 Sumatran elephants still living in the wild.
And staying in Indonesia, as the country faces a shortage of medical oxygen due to the surge of COVID-19 cases, the Department of Trade and Industry here in the Philippines, Secretary Ramon Lopez, said at least 2 Philippine oxygen manufacturers can export to the neighboring country. During a press conference on Monday, Lopez said the country ramped up its supply of medical oxygen when an increase in COVID-19 cases happened last March. The DTI has told local oxygen producers to double their capacity to prepare for the possible surge in demand for medical oxygen. Secretary Lopez added the Philippines can help Indonesia by allowing local manufacturers to export these medical oxygens. On Sunday, Indonesia's health ministry reported that their COVID-19 cases increased by 36,197 and 1,007 COVID-19 related deaths within 24 hours. The Delta variant is said to be the cause of the sudden surge in infection and fatality in the neighboring country.
And the Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte said on Monday he would rather have either one of his two staunchest critics become the next president than have his daughter, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte, succeed him. In a pre-recorded public address, Duterte again expressed disapproval after his daughter expressed openness to join the presidential race in 2022. Take a look.
My stand is I am against really the candidacy of my daughter. I want her spared from the vagaries of politics dito sa Pilipinas. Lalo na itong mga personalities around in the likes of Trillanes, si Dilima, walang ginawa kung hindi mag-atake ng kapwa-tao nila. So, I would rather that ibigay ang gobyerno sa kanila, let them win. I wish them luck, and even wish them win kung manalo sila para kanila na itong gobyerno at gawin nila ang gusto nilang gawin. Masasaktan ako pag siyempre anak ko. Itong bastos, itong bunganga ni Trillanes. Ewan ko kung saan niya nakuha yung katangian na yan. Pati itong si Dilima.
Describing Trillanes and Dilima as being both hungry for power, Duterte said it only made sense for either of the two to have a taste of the presidency so that they could also be judged by the Filipino people. Sara, he said, could still run for president some other time. He also reiterated that the presidency is a job that is not good for a woman, especially because criticisms could only hurt her. Meanwhile, Duterte admitted that he is only considering running as vice president next year to scare off his critics. During a meeting with members of ruling Partido Demokratiko Pilipino Lakas ng Bayan or PDP Laban, Duterte said he is sold to the idea of joining the vice presidential race next year. He said he is seriously thinking of accepting his party mates' appeal for him to seek the second top post in the country.
Senator Manny Pacquiao is punch drunk. President Duterte said on Monday the president again criticized the boxer turned senator for claiming that billions of pesos were lost due to corruption across government agencies. Again, let's listen in.
I have a term for that. It is not mine. I just borrowed it. But I think Pacquiao is punch drunk. Punch drunk. And I leave it up to you. Mayroon man kayong cellphone, hanapin ninyo. I think he is. To be talking about 10 billion from nowhere. Papayag ba naman ang kuha niya? Hindi lang yan. Papayag ba kami? Papayag ba ang mga sekretary ng mga departamento na papayag na ganon na may mawala 10 billion? That is a statement coming from a guy who is punch. Suntok ba? Punch drunk. lasing.
Development specifically of failing to distribute 10.4 billion pesos in cash aid from the Social Amelioration Program or SAP. President Duterte expressed doubt that the Commission on Audit would even overlook that 10.4 billion funds went missing, as Pacquiao claimed. Last week, the president assured the public that he's trying his very best to eradicate corruption in government under his watch. He also hit back at Pacquiao by raising the previous tax evasion complaint against the senator. The president said Senator Pacquiao, having a total of 2.2 billion pesos underpayment in taxes, should also be considered a corrupt official. He implied that Pacquiao's corruption allegations stem from the fact that he was impatient to be named as the presidential bet of their party. The president and Senator Pacquiao are chairman and the president respectively of the ruling PDP Laban Party.
The news continues in ASEAN in Focus after this short break.
Factual.
We have to defeat the virus everywhere.
Timely information. Balanced. Not only in the country, but also abroad.
I'm certain of one thing.
Interviews that people need to know. Watch Aguila Pilipinas, a one-hour newscast of reports coming from regional hubs in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Know the important updates in Asia in ASEAN in Focus. Track the latest stories in the provinces in Aguila Provincia.
Sa mga taga-Iloilo at
Tune into Mata ng Agila, the evening primetime news program of Net25. Balanced and objective, Mata ng Agila covers national and international issues, tackles news on business, health, science and technology, entertainment, sports and human interest features, and current events. And Eagle News International delivers the latest global reports, impartial, accessible, and up-to-date. It brings to fore EBC's rich international scope and access to valuable information streams.
Well, thank you to explain our health outdoor
Catch these programs on Net25. You can also watch our news programs through eaglenews.ph and Eagle News Facebook page and YouTube channel.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Mapupuno ng saya, impormasyon at inspirasyon ang hapon mo sa Afternoon Power. Handog sa inyo ng Net25. Sasabay sa inyong tanghalian ang inyong Happy Time Barkada at 12 noon. Alamin ang mga pangyayari sa ASEAN nations, ASEAN in Focus at 2 p.m. Ang inyong paboritong awit komentaryo kasama si Leo Obligar sa Piskante ng Bayan. At mga balita sa iba't ibang panig ng bansa hatid sa atin sa Aguila Provincia. Siksik ang hapon mo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes ang inyong Afternoon Power sa Net25.
Welcome back. Malaysia will lower its economic growth outlook for this year due to movement restrictions against COVID-19 that, according to the country's finance minister, signaling the government may forecast expansion around 4%. While there is optimism that the current surge in cases can be contained and lockdowns can be eased, the government still expects to lower its gross domestic product estimate for 2021, according to Finance Minister Tengku Zafrul, Abdul Aziz on Monday in an interview with Bloomberg TV. Now, pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin, with lockdowns costing the economy 1 billion ringgit or $239 million a day, and only 10% of the population fully vaccinated, while the largest party in his ruling coalition just withdrew its support for the premier. New COVID cases reached a record 9,353 on Saturday, with the Klang Valley, which includes Kuala Lumpur, accounting for about 60% of the total.
Meanwhile, Thailand risks fueling its decade-high unemployment rate and household debt with the imposition of lockdown-like measures to contain the deadliest COVID outbreak to hit the nation. The Greater Bangkok area, accounting for about 50% of Thailand's gross domestic product, will shutter shopping malls, spas, massage and beauty clinics for at least 2 weeks, starting Monday at the mandatory work-from-home rule for most government employees. Overnight curfews and curbs on domestic travel are set to hurt retailers, airlines, and restaurant operators already reeling from some form of COVID restrictions for more than a year. Thailand is tightening restrictions to stem the spread of the more contagious Delta variant of COVID that's also fueled a surge in cases from Indonesia to Vietnam and scuppered their plans to reopen or to open up borders. The latest measures may further delay Thai economy's recovery from its worst slump in more than 2 decades and derail Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha's target to welcome back vaccinated tourists by as early as mid-October. The economy hit will be increasingly bigger with each lockdown, even if the length of the lockdown is the same, said Maria Lapis, Managing Director of Maybank Kim Eng Securities Thailand. This is because many companies are already nearing the end of their teeter after so many months of ever-shrinking revenues and stubbornly high cost of existence.
Here, back in the country, restrictions could be eased as long as at least 20% of the country's population are fully vaccinated, and the spread of the coronavirus disease, Delta variant, will be prevented. That, according to a member of the Octa Research Group. During the Let's Go Bakuna Town Hall webinar Friday, Octa Research Group fellow Professor Guido David said this move would allow the faster reopening of the economy. Again, let's listen in.
I think once we start hitting 20% fully vaccinated, there could be talks about, maybe transitioning to the next normal based on what we're seeing in some other countries, especially since from what we know, we don't have community transmission of the Delta variant yet here. So that will allow us to open the economy even faster.
The private sector initiative is towards creating what we call micro-herd immunity and safe spaces. And when we talk about micro-herd immunity and safe spaces, we look at Octa's presentation of population protection, the level of about 50% without the Delta variant and 60% as a target if the Delta variant is there. And herd immunity defined as 70%. From July to January next year, we believe that population protection can be achieved between September and October. And we think and agree with the government that herd immunity can be achieved between December and January. And I'd like to assure Sec Duque and CAPSEC Nograles that the private sector really is very passionate in trying to see this whole pandemic blow over. But then again, I think we really have to live with COVID. And it is going to be with us for some time until we are able to vaccinate 100% of our Filipino people.
And still in the Philippines, President Duterte on Monday welcomed World Bank's apology over the report on the state of students and learning outcomes in the Philippines hoping the financial institutions would soon come up with a more accurate report. Take a look.
I learned that the World Bank has apologized and has taken down its recent report on the state of student learning outcomes of well-being in the Philippines. Well, I would not want to begrudge sa World Bank, but ito mga international bodies working on the problems of the world should be very careful in their statistics. It is not good to, commit a wrong internationally. But good as any, we welcome their apology, and of course, that they should, in their apology, the World Bank said that they deeply regret the said report, which advertently published even before the Department of Education had enough chance to provide inputs, and it was an oversight on their part. Mahirap lang talaga kasi tayo. We are a third world country, classified as one. Ang mahirap sa atin is always the constraint of money. Kaya kung may pera talaga sana tayo, kung maganda lang ang ating ekonomiya and we're earning just this much, we could have improved on the governance of all departments, all facets of governance. Ang problema nito, wala masyado tayong pera. But what we have is enough to what you see now. That is the only thing that money can afford. Kung may pera sana ng marami, then we could have upgrade everything to compete or reach in parity with the other first-class country.
Duterte said the Department of Education is working on a new set of data that will be soon submitted to the financial institutions so that they can correct their figures and data inputs.
And we'll be back with more right after this short break.
Kumanta, sumayaw tayong lahat. Saya-saya.
Tawagin na natin ang pinakagwapo, napakagwapo, ladies and gentlemen. Let us all welcome Victor Wood!
Nagustuhan nila Derek at Sir Orly yung performance nyo. Kaya sa next episode, mag-partner na kayo.
Record ka ang sarili mong album. Wala. Hindi papatok yung ganyan style.
Payagan nyo lang ako mag-record uli.
I'm sorry, my love, if I've broken your heart.
Si Arceli nga po pala, fiancé ko.
Hindi ka naman dapat kabahan eh.
To forgive me.
Kapag nakapag-ipon ako, papakasal na tayo.
Ihanda nyo na yung kontrata schedules. Ilalabas na natin to sa buong Pilipinas.
Let me kiss and hold you tight.
Kalahati lang ng TF ni Rico at ni Ray yung TF ko eh.
Kung sino ang mas sikat, yun ang mas may malaking talent fee.
Eh kung kasikatan lang pag-uusapan, masikat naman ako sa mga yan.
Noon yun, Victor. Pero hindi mo inalagaan.
Kaya kong bumangon kahit wala ka.
Meanwhile, the COVID pandemic caused an estimated 18% increase in the number of people facing hunger, according to a UN report released on Monday, dealing a massive setback to efforts to ensure everyone has access to food. The world was already off track to achieve its goal of eradicating hunger by 2030, but the report warned that COVID had now sent it back to the wrong direction. The economic downturns as a consequence of COVID-19 containment measures all over the world have contributed to one of the largest increases in world hunger in decades, according to the annual Food Security and Nutrition Report compiled by several UN agencies. Although the full impact of the pandemic cannot yet be determined, the report estimated around 118 million people 18 million more people faced hunger in 2020 than in 2019, an increase of 18%. The rise in moderate or severe food insecurity was equal to the previous 5 years combined. Nearly 1 in 3 people in the world, 2.37 billion, did not have access to adequate food in 2020, an increase of almost 320 million people in just 1 year, according to the report. 1 in 10 people were undernourished. The increase in hunger was widespread as the economic downturn affected almost all low and middle income countries. But the biggest impact was in countries where there were also climate-related disasters or conflict or both.
This is alarming. This is life-threatening.
In Vietnam, the first homegrown car manufacturer, VinFast, said Monday it will launch 2 new electric vehicle models early next year in North America and Europe as it pushes to enter the lucrative but crowded market. The car maker is a subsidiary of Vietnam's largest private conglomerate, Vingroup, which is owned by the country's richest man, a press-shy billionaire who started his career selling dried noodles in Ukraine. The company said Monday it had officially begun operations in the U.S., Canada, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, and had recruited staff and opened offices in this key market. All the vehicles will be made in Vietnam. It aims to launch its 2 new electric car models, the VF E35 and the VF E36. In March 22, the company added. But the VinFast will face stiff competition, especially when going up against big-name brands, including Volkswagen and Elon Musk's Tesla. To prepare for its entry into global markets, the company said it had recruited experts from firms including Tesla, BMW, and Toyota. Domestically, VinFast has already sold vehicles that include sedan and SUV models, along with e-scooters and even electric buses. It sold around 30,000 vehicles last year. Vingroup CEO Pham Nhat Vuong is worth an estimated of $7 billion, according to Forbes.
Again, thank you, December, for keeping me company today.
My pleasure, Alma. Thank you, too. And that's the latest news in the dynamic ASEAN region. I'm December Paras of EBC Indonesia Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
And a special shout out to Brother Willen Regalado, who's always watching over you guys and us. Thank you very much po, and thank you very much for your support. And with that, I'm Alma Angeles. We live in interesting times.
Dahil sa COVID-19 na itala sa
kontra COVID-19, may